Hi, good morning, guys and gals. Welcome to another episode of Nocturnal Sage. Since this is the first time I'll be doing this vlog in the morning, I will have to rush things a bit, but don't worry, you won't be compromised. I won't allow you to get shortchanged because I believe I've chosen a topic that is very timely. I assume you're in the middle of writing your stories or descriptions, and I think the most helpful thing I could give is suggest some ways of characterizing, giving life to your characters and scene without sounding cliche. Now, what is cliche? It's everything that's common. The common expressions, overused language that we hear around us. They're overused because they have lost their flavor. And in our writing exercises, we have always been taught to avoid cliche by crafting expressions that may not have been written, said, heard, nor read. I'm going to give you more examples aside from the ones on the PowerPoint files you had been shown in class. And the examples that I'll be sharing with you will come from my drafts. Now, I will not be sharing the entirety of it since it's my policy to never disclose so much or too much, especially since this is not the final form yet. But I don't mean to sound egoistic. However, just recently when I worked on the characterization of one character, I consider it a good example of ideal characterization. I'm going to read aloud, okay? Uh, the characterization of Felicia. Okay, Felicia is one of the closest friends of this mystery student in the current story that I'm working on. In this part, it's just actually um, it's just right after the introduction of the story. It's in this part the narrator, who happens to be the main character as well. Oh yeah, protagonist or antagonist. I have not yet disclosed that in the story. If one wants to find out his or her true identity, he or she has to read on. But anyway, the narrator decides to find answers to his question on why finally he has been called or summoned to drop by the office of a certain counselor-ish employee. And one of the reasons why okay, as part of his justification, his or her justification, he or she brings up the topic on the two people whom he or she trusts the most. Now, if I inadvertently said friends, it was just for convenience sake. The narrator doesn't necessarily consider these two characters his or her friends, but he or she trusts them the most because they're just like him or her. They he or she appears almost everywhere, yet he or she never really receives the acknowledgement that he or she thinks uh, he or she's deserving of. Okay, let's now go to that part. Felicia is another lost species that entered my life in 10th grade. I am the mirror that holds her broken face to protect it from completely shattering. She joined Glam Gals last year, but then exited a few days before summer. Our meeting began under the mango tree during the time the last fruit had not been the last yet. Jared, could you give us some space? Her tears were on the verge of escaping her control. Please! Jared refused through his cold stare at her. But when I told him that he could make up for his lost seconds of mimicry at my place some other time, he headed for the other tree opposite ours. Felicia sat next to me. I know I shouldn't be asking this. She held the cloth on her lap tightly, as if to wring off the guilt that stuck there longer than the splattered tomato sauce. Her tears broke free. How would I know the stupidity in the question if it is left unsaid? I said as I lay my left hand the way an ordained church minister would on those innocent, clenched fists. Could you be my friend from now on? The only response available was to think of a perfect one. Before I could even open my mouth, however, she had been poised to give me a full account leading to the question that sounded more like a proposal. The Glam Gals Constitution states that these girls are free to date guys, but when any of them do, the boy automatically becomes a communal toy within their circle. Last year on Hearts Night, three boyfriends were brought into their slumber party at Felicia's. The leader had all the members exercise their rights to the fullest when Felicia had been reassured that everything would be played cleanly. The girls, with their index fingers and thumbs already inserted into their respective slots, seized the three unguarded preys, while Felicia could only watch in wonder, strips of multicolored cloth gently crashing to the ground to be with the confetti which had promised decent childlike fun. A bucket of water was brought to Felicia. The leader had said it was necessary to wash the food before eating it. Felicia was not dumb to remember that washing had been for cleanliness. She had known that having those three unveiled bodies drenched was for adding flavor. She held the base with her right palm and the handle with her weaker hand, looking prepared to serve those hungry eyes. What's taking you so long? Excitement could not keep the leader's mouth shut. I I think we forgot something, Felicia explained. The girls looked at each other with furrowed foreheads. After milliseconds of silent confusion, they finally drawled a synchronous ah in unanimous agreement. They realized the boys had needed to warm up before they got baptized in water. The leader raised something which the others did not hold as weapons. She held it as if a Russian roulette was going to take place, only that she pointed it at the three hostages. Hold them up high, then spread the ones down below. The rolling sounds helped with the boys obliging the mistress's demand. Once those tiny black weeds and tea bags got exposed, the female felines fumbled for every jaw, neck, thigh, shoulder, and chest they could feed on. Those cannibalistic mouths reabsorbed all the saliva they had used to wash every fabric of meat as if having leftovers had not been an option. Felicia put down the bucket as she retreated to the kitchen. She accepted that getting reprimanded by her parents was going to be her lifesaver at that very moment. So you see, I'm not sure if I had been convincing enough, but I I really painted the picture as much as possible with using non-cliche words. So if you intend to establish a scene like that, yes, the scene may be cliche in itself. It's if you had been listening well, I don't know if you have the same impression, but I believe I presented an image uh of sexual abuse in the context of a sorority gathering. Well, you notice the I hope you took note of the descriptions I used a while ago. Instead of directly stating that they exposed their armpits and genitals, I substituted them with black weeds and tea bags instead. I think when you if you recall one of the stories you were asked to read in 21st Century Lit, I used a similar technique employed by Dean Francis Alfar, where he substituted the word penis with tail. But in this story, there are no rubber bands, but only a bucket of water and a revolver. Yeah, you heard the description rolling sounds, right? They're actually referring to the sounds um, caused by the revolver. Though I did not directly state that the leader was holding one. Okay, that's one of the techniques. You should not be too direct. Again, just show, don't tell. This part underwent a series of revisions, so it's not really the very first thing that I had written. I actually changed it to make it more subtle and to eliminate the telling part. Yes, until now, as a fictionist, I have the tendency to tell. You know me, even in the classroom, I tend to perhaps bombard you with information too much. So in writing, one of the good habits that should be formed by a good writer, especially narrative and descriptive writers, is to avoid being too direct. Just paint the picture and then allow your audience to form their own impressions of it. Because if you directly tell them that, okay, this is a rape scene, it's in the context of a sorority party, then you're already preempting your audience. They won't have any discourse. What will be the use of talking about your work if you already overrule their judgments? So that is what I think makes a certain work of art interesting if it inspires conversation. So ask yourselves after writing your first draft or final draft, will it inspire or invite others to talk about my work? If the answer is yes, or any affirmative reply, then you're on the right track. So continue writing, my dear students. Never give up, aim for excellence in everything you do. I'll see you soon in the next segment of Nocturnal Sage. Thank you for viewing, and if you like this video, just give it a thumbs up or subscribe so that the uploading process would be more efficient. And I'll be more motivated to create more videos of topics that are worth talking about and are seldom discussed in the classroom. Just remember, this is a haven for students who think that their teachers don't make sense.